The continuation of Spice and Wolf. This is a weird spot that we find ourselves in because I've been gone for like a month, and we are what I'd make the assumption of the last episode, probably within the arc that we're in. So a lot of the climax stuff that we're really getting to here and the conclusions that will come to a lot of the things I theorized about, a lot of the things that I had questions going into and wondering ways that certain things within this are going to be pulled off. I got to be honest, I can't remember all the specifics. So bear with me, a little bit on some of the things. I got the rough outline and I remember roughly of kind of the face off and the things that we're going to be at with the attempted tank or almost within the market, or of the certain item that we are trying to kind of do here. So Amadi ends up not being able to claim out the amount of money and everything that he needs. And then at the same time, trying to see what Lawrence actually has up his sleeve, while Amadi almost seemed to be kind of prepping for this or aware of it going into it and seeing possibly anything else that we have really within it that hopefully starts coming back to me a lot more in a lot more detail as we progress a little bit forward throughout the episode and it starts hitting a bit more. But yeah, so sorry for that, bear with me when it comes to that, and hopefully now that we have made a return here, we can go through all the next arc in the final set of episodes, and I'll be a little bit more on my game as we'll be at. Maybe I'll surprise myself, maybe I'll remember a lot more, get a lot more in depth and feelings towards a lot of this stuff as we go through the episode and we get into the discussion. But who knows? I'm leaving that out there as a warning, because this is one of those series where I gotta kind of remember a lot of that stuff about what we've been building up and all the like small subtle little details and stuff that they have that have been built up over the past 4 or 5 episodes that'll come to life here. And if I don't, which I don't think I necessarily do, or we find ourselves in a little bit of a weird spot. But hopefully, nonetheless, we can still get some enjoyment out of this, and we can move a little bit forward and get back to our bases a little bit, which I think is all I really want. So hopefully you guys do enjoy. If you look at all the like and subscribe and want me, feel free to stick around for the discussion, leave in the comments with this episode or series. Let's go going with the episode 19 of Spice and Wolf. I'm like, go no OP, they gotta cram everything in to finish things up here.
厳しいな。並大抵の量の大鉄鋼じゃ太刀打ちできないだろう。ディアナからの使いが来るよう祈るばかりだ。焦って中途半端な量を売りに出すと、買い待ちの札を出しておけばまだまだ大鉄鋼を手に入れられるという期待を煽るだけになる。そうすればますます値段。
Patience and timing, the key of things here. Well, the problem is, if I remember everything correctly, towards the last end of the last episode, he ran into some problems, or he got a little bit, he wasn't as on guard as he needed to be, a little bit as focused. Oh yeah, because we did notice Hollow like this with the feathers. Who's got some tricks up her sleeve?
マーティンが持ってる大鉄鋼は確か銀貨800枚分だ。2割上がったら
960枚ですよね。
おそうなれやつは即座に財産を切り崩して残りの銀貨40枚をひねり出し、見事に契約を完遂しちまうだろう。信用売りの毒が効果を表す前にね。
信用売りの毒？
I don't know exactly what he means by that either. Ain't nobody for you. I'd find that very hard to believe. He's got his own personal reasons. Things you can't put a value on. Yep. Yup. You get it. You get it.
奴も探しているのか。
売りだ。お、売りが来た。
アマーティか。
いくらだ。
すいません。ちょっと通してください。ああ、
また買いが入ったぞ。売りの分すぐに戻る。反発が早いな。大きく動き始めるのか。
I don't understand the whole like market system that they got here with the writing and everything. I get like what it's trying to I get what it's like so that they can all kind of read. It's like they're bored, but I think it's actually kind of cool. It looks cool. That's the cue.
可能な限り早く。はい。
Run, little boy, run.
してくれなくちゃ困る。
今日の夕方渡される。
Now's not the time. Get up.
それがどういうことかわかるか？
値上がりしそうな証書は売れるけど、値下がりしそうなら売れない気がします。
その通りだ。
もう十分だ。売ってくる。
急いでくれ。
Patient ones will win out in the end, but sometimes that patience, it's not always the greatest thing.
これ以上。
Because you'd have missed your window of opportunity.
貝が入ったぞ。いくら言えんぞ。前を開けろ。大口の貝だ。
Everyone's got something they're at odds with and panicking over.
売りだ。
無理か。
In front of everyone, too.
結構動いたな。いや、まだ上がる。チャンスはあるぞ。
もし今ディアナさんからの400枚分の大鉄鋼
That sure would make things a hell of a lot
その
easier.
空気は一転する。血まくれば
We made it back. Got what we needed.
お待たせしてすみません。
Oh.
250枚分です。
Oh. Oh. We needed a little bit more.
万全を期すならディアナさんの使いを待つべきなんだが。
でも、来るんですかその人。
I feel like they would be here already.
もうその線は
Yeah.
一度諦めたばかりじゃないか。博打を打つなら
Gotta go all in here.
今しかない。
Yeah. Gotta commit to it at this point. Uh-oh.
来た。大口だ。おい、いくらになった。
You showed a slight bit of hesitation, and look what happens.
最高値だ。買うぞ。
どうしたんですか？
貝だ。
貝が
And there's no way that this crashes us where we need it to be. Yep.
変わった。こ
Well,
うなったらディアナさんの使いを待つしか。
あれを
is she
ほら
is she manipulating the boy?
信用売りの毒に気づいている。
Oh, I guess she did call. I don't know why. I just assumed that they weren't going to at all. Oh, maybe she just got a message then.
交渉に失敗した
Mmm.
やはり売ってはくれなかったとディアナさんは言いました期待に応えられず申し訳ないと
Well, now you gotta really show us what the fuck you're made of, or we just have to put full blind faith within Hollow. Because I'm at a loss, brother. I am at a loss.
失敗したと。まあ、アマーティから銀貨1000枚が入るんだ。
Well, I won't be at a complete loss.
さあ、君にもこれを。
ロレンスさん諦めるのですか？商人は軽々しく諦めるなと主人にいつも言われています。金儲けの神様は祈っているやつのところに来るのではない、諦めの悪いやつのところに来てくれるのだとホロさんが好きです。
Like 3 people so far.
主人に言われました。それをロレンスさんの前で言ったらぶっ飛ばされると
ぶっ飛ばしたい。
Not you, buddy. There's another small man that's out there that I need to go kick some ass.
忘れてたよ。諦めが悪いやつってのは、得てして信じられないような希望的観測をするやつばかり。
Absolutely.
そして俺もその一人だってことを。
There's nothing wrong with that.
商人は計画を立て、予測をし、事実と照らし合わせて商売をする。あれを売ればこうなり、これを買えばああなる。そういった仮説も大事だ。だが、仮説というものはいくらでも立てられる。だから、あまりに立てすぎると迷ってしまう。どんな商売も危険に満ちているように思えてし
Just
ま
gotta trust the heart.
う。そこで迷わないように、一つの道しるべを持って。
I love the aspect of having somebody so much less experienced and younger being the person that gets you back to like your roots almost and allowing you to kind of think straight when you're at a loss. Being that guiding voice almost for you. No matter how wishful, I guess, their own thinking may be.
俺が露店に石を売ったら頼んでおいた噂を流してくれ。
We still got things we can do.
何を信じるか。頼んだ。売りだ。
これも売りじゃ。たわけ。
おいあの量
悪かったよ。誰かさんとは違い大人っぽい美人だっただろ。
Mm. No aggression, just
売りだ。いくら動くんだ。大口の売りだ。俺も売りだ。
I get it's general business, but it's hilarious how much sheep like everybody. Everybody winds up being. It's the exact thing that happens nowadays within like things within the market. The moment things go down, either you see it as like this huge opportunity to try and buy, but most people panic and just sell off immediately.
結果としてはアマーティもそれほどの損はしなかったが、精神的な打撃は大きい。
Oh, absolutely. This is the first time he probably really had to go through and experience something along these lines. Yeah, that's stick to what you know.
と言われてたよ。
わっちはもっと手ひどく分かれてやるつもりだったがな。
え？
あやつのあの言葉は絶対許せぬ。
なんと。
なんと言われたかは聞くでないぞ。
それが良さそうだ。
Then why bring it up?
悪かった。
何が悪かったのか本当に分かっている。
I think he does this time.
分かっている。
Yeah. He's thought about it a lot.
つもりだ。アマーティとの契約をどうこうするというのは
Yes.
完全に俺の独りよがりだった。
And
そうだろう。要はお前を信じていなかったということが最大の問
there we
題だ
go.
った。白い羽を刺していたのはディアナさんから大鉄鋼を買ったのは自分だと知らせてくれていた。 そして姿が見えなかった間にディアナさんからの大鉄鋼を受け取っていた。しかしアマーティが石を売った時、あれはお前の罠だと思った。
はあ、詳しく言ってみよう。
why would I do
俺に
that?
勇み足を踏ませる魚穴、こういった売買に詳しくないアマーティを焚きつけて売らせたんだ。そしてアマーティが十分な在庫を手にしているからさっさと売り浴びせをしろと俺に伝えていた。
Little hints here and there, you know, sound light.
その前はお前がアマーティの用意した誓約書に名前を書いて判を押した。
You did do
だ
that.
があれは俺が怒りやすいようにと用意した。
And not sit around and just believe that you'll be okay regardless.
わっちは2回。
And you did not go up to see her.
まあよい。続き。
To be fair, I do think I cautioned him to not do that. Because she was gonna get mad regardless.
俺はあれを拒絶だと思ったんだ。でもあれは我に返ってのことだったんだろう。
このたわけが下手の考え休むに似たりとはこのことじゃ。わっちの苦心を何もかも台無しにしようって。
All my work.
天津さえわっちが主の敵に回っておったじゃと。その上妙に若造との契約に執着しようって絆ができていたと思う。それはわっちの思い込みだったのかや。
Love the press. Love the press.
主は本当に。
俺はお前と旅を続けたい。商売に明け暮れてきて、これからもそのつもりだ。
But
そ
we
れ以外の
found
国
something
はあん
else.
まり頭が回っていないと思ってくれ。
And we're working through that.
それでも
Which is why we've got to fight every
俺はお前
time.
と旅がしたい。
なら
Yeah. Answer that now. Answer that now. Prove it.
とても言い表せない。
Sometimes actions can, though.
なんじゃそのしょっぱいセリフ。
塩が効いた干し肉が好きだろ。
大嫌いじゃ。
こっちも一つ聞きたいことがある。 どうやってディアナさんから大鉄鋼を買い付ける約束を取り付けたの？
I told her I'm the wolf she was talking about in that story. The homeland and all. She kind of connected the dots.
じゃあ別の目的で行ったに過ぎん。
別
That you were the other visitor.
場所は手紙の匂いからわかりんす。あの強烈な温泉臭い場所には難儀したがな。わっちゃこう言った。ヨイツはまだどこかにあるかもしれぬという話をでっち上げ。
Oh my god. Oh my god.
じゃがな、あの小娘、わっちの頼みを無限にしよった。
The hesitation to come to
ご
the
めんくだ
door.
さい。
それであの小娘、いらぬ策を巡らせたんじゃ。
She just added extra layers into this bullshit.
主のたわけた質問もしっかりとこの耳に入ってきんす。
質問があるのですが、
何なりと。
異教の神々と人がそのつがいになったという話を
I got my answer.
たくさんあるわ。
人と神がつがいになった話はたくさんあるそうじゃな。
I
主がその気なら、わっちは構わぬ。
would never say that with my own words.
優しくしてくれれ。
That's
なん
cute.
て
No, you're
な。あ
not.
の小娘と話した後じゃ気分も乗らぬ。
Okay, well, that's valid.
あれは小娘のものじゃ。
そうなのか。
元は
Is
主
she a
を
bird?
深い鳥じゃ。
Oh.
それが旅の僧に惚れ、長い年月をかけて
What the fuck?
作ったわよいが、いつまでも年を取らぬ小娘を僧は怪しんだ。あとはわかるじゃろう。
Something similar. Path that will potentially danger down. Potential from intro sequence.
人は派手なことをするな。
ああ、すご
What
いな。
gets them going? Oh, I love the little masks.
わっちらも行くかや。
そうだな。
わっちゃ、あの人形のように情熱的なことでも構わない。
酔った勢いがあればなんとかなるかな。
主まで酔ったら誰がわっちを解放するんじゃ。このたわけ。ひっ
And now we get to properly celebrate like we wanted to when we initially came to the town. Felt this from a distance, you would not think that they're just having a festival. This discussion I'm going to handle slightly different than everything else that we've done and all the ones I'll go into the future kind of having. And this is almost going to be, I think, displayed in a similar way to, if you're familiar with any of the like end of season kind of things I do when I finish out a series, and after I talk about that episode specifically, I just kind of branch out and talk about the entire season as a whole and things I liked and disliked and, you know, my overall feelings on a lot of stuff. It will be a little bit more focused, directly tied to what happens within the episode, but overall the arc itself on the grander scale, due to if I try to go into in detail some sort of ways about, you know, the things and the intricacies of what actually occurred within the business and the deal and everything with Amadi and Lawrence and everything, it would kind of be wrong because I can't remember all the specifics with what he had financially and what all this was and, you know, everything. So what they were doing exactly throughout this episode and who was setting what up and doing exactly what, it might not all hit exactly for me here. And if I try to, you know, say these things that way, it might come off just wrong entirely. And just to save myself from that, you know, and not have to end up dealing with it, I'm just going to talk about some feelings and thoughts overall on the arc. So hopefully we can all live with that, and hopefully that's cool. And you can go into detail with some of that other stuff if you feel is necessary, but if not, it's not the biggest deal either. It's really unfortunate that this happened when it did. I was around to watch it, like the day when I stopped recording things was actually like a couple days after this episode was supposed to air, but it ended up getting delayed due to the Olympics. So we would have wrapped this arc up, and likely I would have had all of the next arc to get into it. It would have been like kind of fresh and new, which would have been ideal, but they delayed this episode, unfortunately, by 1 full week, which then made me kind of get screwed over on it, which I think is a little unfortunate. I mean, I will open and I will say, even with having the gap and still, you know, feeling like I'm a little bit fuzzy on the things that I want to say or feel like when it comes to this, I think this is the best arc so far that we've had. And I do have my complaints and things that maybe I don't necessarily love, and maybe I can even get over some of those things just depending on the way that they direct the story going into the future. But I do think it's the strongest overall arc that we've had up to this point. I think that the cast of characters that get introduced are overall way more entertaining and way more kind of just fleshed out and interesting to me, with a lot of things regarding them than any of the other casts that we've kind of had up to this part. Well, we've had certain ones who are big time players at certain points within the previous arcs. I just feel like they weren't maybe as, they just didn't connect on a certain level, maybe that a lot of the side casts have for us here, even the ones that didn't get expanded. And I was a lot more interested on a lot of these characters that got really introduced here. I felt that they all had interesting dynamics. They all played off of Lawrence extremely well. They challenged him on certain things, presenting new ideas and a lot of different things to him as well, maybe getting him on a different train of thought, and then allowing for different conflicts and stuff to come up with, like Amadi being introduced and everything too. I think all of them allowed for being so much stronger, and the writing of them felt a lot better to me, which is interesting because like we have somebody like Nora in the previous one who's really interesting as a character too, but it almost felt like that entire arc it's just her, right? And she wasn't like, I wasn't over the moon about her as a character that made me be like, I'm so thrilled and love this arc so much because just of her, where I still don't think there's any characters within this one that made me really have like a love for them, that made that the case. But I felt that all the characters that really got introduced had something that I took from them that I really enjoyed and loved seeing them, especially when they were on screen, and wondering how they were going to feel or what they were going to do next or what they were going to present to us, on maybe a similar level to, say, her in the previous arc, that allowed for so many more like interesting flavors of characters to be here, that I was like, this is really entertaining, because no matter who we go to or what direction we turn, there's something new or something that I'm like, okay, I'm here for this, which I think is a really strong thing. And I think that the author definitely hits a stride of some sort of point when getting up to this this area with developing its characters, which I do definitely like. And I think the other few things, I guess they all get kind of tied into one. It's the overall conclusion of the arc, but I guess the details and things that allow for the conclusion to kind of hit the way that it does is due to the way that everything was kind of paced or written out throughout it, which I really like. A lot of the subtle things really kind of play a strong part coming towards the back end, even things that maybe weren't brought any attention by the characters and were just kind of displayed on screen, which is something that this show does a ton. It definitely rewards you for more so paying attention and picking up on certain details, or really kind of noticing the small little things that people say, because a lot of the time Lawrence will just be sitting here talking and he'll be like, okay, I think like Amadi has this and this and this, and then it's like, okay, well, if you miss that one, you know, 1 or 2 lines of dialogue, you're not gonna have a clue what's going on regarding like the actual like numbers and everything for the remainder of the arc, which is a good and a bad thing, rewarding those especially who do pay attention, and rewarding those who really want to get deep into it and figure out all the intricacies. But it can also be a bad thing because, you know, you miss something for a second, or you misunderstand something for a second, or you misremember because you didn't watch every episode back to back to back to back, which I guess the entirety of this is all probably meant to be consumed within one sitting. But it's still, or not one sitting, but like kind of one sort of read, being a volume in itself. But it is, I don't know, it's rather interesting to me, the way that is. And I think that can be definitely a bad thing sometimes, and it just depends how it is, the amount of times that you kind of reiterate these things, how important and impactful that stuff is, and whether it gets resurfaced at other points, and mentioned throughout different kind of areas. And also just the overall writing of, can you track and follow everything that's occurring up to this point, and that has actually occurred without needing to know these like slight specific details that maybe only get glossed over once or twice. It depends, right? The entire story that we get with Diana, right, and having her situation where like with the birds or with the feathers and everything that we get to see, right? That is a thing that's maybe not the most important situation that can get displayed to us, but it wraps itself up nice with, if you're paying attention and if you start theorizing and if you start questioning some of the things that maybe she says or the way that she presents things or the way that anything kind of is regarding her, you might be able to reach that sort of conclusion by the time that it gets revealed to you down the back end. I think that's a big ol' thumbs up, right? That's a good way to do it. But when it's directly tied and important to the main conflict and everything that the characters are kind of going between here with our overall battle that we're having with Amadi, it can be kind of a negative sort of thing if you need to like pick up on and realize all those details. So it's just an interesting way. And I think they did a good enough job that even if you didn't remember all those specifics, you were able to follow, but I still think that maybe it wasn't necessarily laid out in the exact fashion, a perfect fashion that it kind of needed to be for it to flow as perfect. And I think that that's just not even a knock against like the writing or anything on it. It's more of, this is the way that it gets translated into this sort of media that isn't able to like actually happen compared to where it is in the light novel, and in the novel itself being able to expand and flesh out these details and allow you to, you know, pay more attention to certain lines of dialogue and stuff directly that maybe have to get glossed over or just have to be like reference things within kind of the backgrounds or whatever might also be the case. I don't really know. And maybe I'm just spewing a bunch of bullshit here, but that's kind of just where my head's at almost in telling me. But overall, like I said, the conclusion of this, I think, comes really nicely. And I think they tie a lot of the stuff up extremely well. The initial conflicts that we're having between the characters, the way that things kind of finish out by the back end, the way that all the characters almost feel like they have some sort of like little resolution, and you get to see some sort of like glimpses of hope or things kind of within them. I mean, we even get to see with the little kid at a certain point, right? And the way that things get displayed with him, and we get to see somebody who seems to be heavily interested and invested in potentially future and stuff of being some sort of merchant or having some sort of knowledge that he can obtain at least through Lawrence and through these scenarios, is able to be that person that sets, say, Lawrence right on that right track or whatever it is, and be able to see like a growth or something, that determination and that hunger almost within him, I think is like a nice little touch too. And being able to have like even the little stories, the little mentions about, you know, two people being like a couple that we get to see at some point mentioned by Lawrence have some sort of relevance to the way that Hollow feels, and have some sort of relevance to make this entire arc of a learning experience for Lawrence to correct the mistakes and the things that he's done through his argument and disagreements and stuff and lack of communication overall with Hollow, and hiding things from her. Like a lot of that stuff I think comes full circle in a really excellent and nice kind of way here towards the end, which I really like. The only thing I think I wish was a little bit more resolution on Amadi's part of hearing things from him as opposed to hearing things from somebody else, of being like, oh yeah, I heard that he kind of learned a lot and this was a humbling experience for him because this shit never happens to him or something. I wish we got maybe more fleshing out of him and his own thoughts on the whole scenario, and what happened for being such a primary and big time player within the arc itself, to have his entire last episode with actually no dialogue coming from that character itself, besides random screen time where we get to see Hollow kind of toying around with him and making him do these things, and then just seeing him like look a little disappointed when he ends up like not winning out entirely here. Like it's just I don't know, it's a little off-putting there, almost. Like I desire more of a resolution coming from him on a personal level. So I don't know. That's roughly, I think, some of the overall thoughts that we have there. The biggest, I guess, complaint overall that I would have though with the arc itself is just the idea that we are going, and this is what I meant earlier when I'm like, it depends on how we handle things in the future. It's the typical like the way that we're presenting every arc, I guess, up to this point has almost felt like, let's do something back against the wall for Lawrence, force him to come out and force him to like pull off some crazy shit, and if he doesn't, Hollow's there by his side, and then they're able to I mean, we've had a couple where they've had disagreements and then they've had to come back, and being some sort of force is separating them that then forces one of them to take action, or both of them to do positive things on their own ends that then bring them both together and then allow us to reach this sort of resolution after some sort of like lack of communication or misunderstanding, even though that's been like such a big prevalent part between them two and core theme kind of throughout this, and making it like almost repetitive in the sort of way that they're doing it and just slightly tweaking each of them that they do. It just almost makes me not like excited to be like, okay, the next one we're going to get into, they're going to get like separated or isolated, and then they're going to have to get run out of town, or they're going to have to do something, and they're going to have to reconnect as a result, and they're going to have to rekindle whatever issues that they ended up having with each other. And it's like, we did that already. We did that multiple times already, you know, like, are we going to get a little bit more unique with the things that we do almost, with the way that we kind of present these things? I don't know. And I do wonder, but that's essentially, I think, like my biggest issue with this is and it's something that isn't a problem here at all, due to we can take this as this has happened multiple times. This is the first, like, the really, like, the biggest blow up kind of between them that has caused some sort of force to like separate them, and then have them come back together and be stronger together once they are back together. The problem becomes, are we going to take that experience and now work towards that with them actually being together and work towards things in the future? Or are we going to take that exact same formula that we have multiple times already and force that hand once again? If we do that another time or another 2 times or just whatever, it's going to get a point where I'm not entertained or interested at all, because it's almost like everything gets wrapped up a little too nicely. It's like there's no real like issue or consequence or thing that almost feels like is coming out of this, outside of them just learning these lessons and growing closer, which we've done multiple times already. So it's like, I don't know, I'm a little cautious how we're going to at least bring the next arc, but even say any future ones within the series, that might make me feel like this is a little off-putting at that point. Like, and I don't really desire to see how this continues to progress itself if we're going to continuously follow this formula. So that's the biggest issue I think that I almost take with it, which isn't necessarily a problem right now, because I do think that this is a good turning point, overall direction for us to have, and bring us to this as like a proper, like, this is a strong resolution. This almost feels like the, let's finish out here, and then now you could start, say, like a new season or go into something new, which works in novel format, but maybe not as much in anime because of us being on episode 19, but works more so where now we could be like, this is the good stopping point, and now going forward in the story, everybody's kind of together, and then we like fight towards that as like a goal and a thing together, as opposed towards us doing something that almost feels like we have to continuously keep like pulling us apart, if that makes any sort of sense. But that's a little bit of, I think, where my mind is at regarding what ended up happening here. That's probably all I think I really want to add on to or stay here. I'm not even skimming through or going anything through the episode. It is what it is. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that though, and hopefully you weren't too upset about the change of style or my lack of maybe remembrance towards certain things that happened within it. Overall, let me know what you think, what you thought about the arc itself, what you thought about so far up to this point in the series, if you agree or disagree entirely with kind of my complaints and issues that I almost have with certain aspects so far, and are you excited for us to get into and going forward into the 4th arc, and probably the last one throughout this season. I think arc 4 wasn't in the initial anime, if I remember correctly. Somebody said that they skipped it and went to arc 5, so this will be like kind of new content for anime only type of people, which will be entertaining. I mean, either of them would have been new content for me, but regardless, interested, I guess, to see the direction that they would like to go. If it's more of a own, you know, self-satisfaction sort of thing, I get what I want out of this, or whether it's they're going to take me in a direction that I expect them to almost go. I don't know, but we'll end up seeing. Hopefully you guys enjoyed though. If you liked it, like and subscribe to me. Feel free to check out the videos and channel in the comments with this episode of series. We're back for episode 20 and the 4th and final arc, I believe, next week. It was a great one. Peace.